Getting to Immortal in Valorant is not a walk in the park. You really have to grab Valorant by the horns and rein it in. You're gonna have to put in the work for it and refine yourself into the best version of you to reach it. You'll also get a cool number at the end of the act if you place in the top 10,000 of Immortal. So, in today's guide, we're gonna walk through our 8-step process on how you can manage to do just that. By the time it's over, you'll know everything that you need to know to climb the ranks and even secure your own spot on Valorant's leaderboard. Let's get right into the first step then here. Step 1. Mastering the basics. The basics of Valorant can be summed up to understanding your agent abilities, your aim, your movement, and your communication. And let's start this all by talking about agents and their abilities. You should learn a few agents really well if you want to reach Immortal. Being versatile is really important in Immortal Plus. Now, learning how to play a controller, sentinel, initiator, and a duelist will benefit you in the long run if you ever need to fill any of those roles. Winning without a controller on the team is especially hard though, so I'd recommend learning a controller alongside the main agent you're specializing in to make sure you always have one on the team. But what rises above all else is communication and teamwork. Without proper communication and team play, you're likely to lose no matter the situation. So make sure you're communicating with your team and try your best to work with them. Now, some of you might be thinking, my teammates, they never communicate or make plays with me, and I hate them. Maybe not hate them, but in that case, you should practice good communication regardless of it. If your team's unwilling to work with you, just make sure your comms are on point because sometimes there's just nothing else you can do. Okay, so let's talk about how to practice your aim real quick though, just to make sure you're always ready going into your competitive game here. Aim trainers like Aim Labs or Kovacs are really reliable and they're used by many professional players. But personally, for me, I found for myself just practicing in-game gives me the best warm-up and practice. Okay, so in my routine, I head into the range and shoot bots for a bit until I start to feel warm. Once I feel warm, I'll set the bots to strafe, which you can do by pressing F3 at the spawn point in the range. After I feel comfortable shooting bots on strafe, I'll head into deathmatch and make sure my gun hygiene is good. And what I mean by gun hygiene is making sure I'm not committing to any bad fights. And I'm practicing only good habits like burst strafing, tapping, and trying not to crouch spray. Next up is step number 2, specializing in a role and agent. Mastering a certain role or agent will help a lot in ranking up. So let's talk about the pros and cons for each role so you know which one fits your playstyle. Duelists excel at aggression, movement, and making plays in any situation. So if you're more of a calm and patient player who doesn't really like to just get in there and attack it, this role is not for you. Initiators are a lot like duelists. They can make plays, and usually you're trying to set up your duelist as an initiator and head right in there afterwards. Initiators can make a lot of plays without having to be the entry. Controller are a more strategic role. You have the ability to make every round play out exactly the way you want it through your utility. Controller is for people who play the odds and like to think strategically. It can also feel boring if you don't enjoy playing it. And finally, Sentinels are the most passive role. On attack, Sentinels tend to lurk, and on defense, they tend to play super passive. This role is for people who enjoy playing passive and playing the odds, but it can feel boring at times if nobody comes to your side. Now that you know what each role is about, you should try to pick an agent in your desired role and master them. Mastering an agent will give you a higher win rate with them. On to step 3, developing game sense. You might be asking me, what actually is game sense? People say it, no clue what it is. Game sense refers to the player's ability to make informed decisions and predictions in the game. It's basically your intuition if you want to put a name for it. But at some point in playing Valorant, you'll realize that your game sense is holding you back. So let's talk about how to develop a game sense. Situational awareness is the most important aspect of game sense. Understanding how the enemies will rotate or play in any given situation will help you out immensely. The best way that I've found to develop this skill is being super conscious of my decisions while playing. For example, if I'm in a 5v5 and playing as the B anchor, my teammate calls 3 are pushing A site, I'll think to myself, is it worth it to rotate to A site? Because my team only saw 3, and I'd be giving up B if I did rotate. This type of question is applicable to almost any situation in Valorant, and honestly, it's helped me a lot. Let's move on to reading the enemy now and adapting to how they play. Reading the enemy is usually easy in ranked. This is because in ranked, most teams on attack will herd together like sheep and just try to force the issue, usually where the majority of enemies are going to be going. But if the enemy ever sends a lurker somewhere, you should always be quick to adapt to it and make sure they can't do it again. The most important part of being able to have good game sense and having good reads on the enemy is to have good communication. It's impossible to predict what the enemy will do if nobody on your team is communicating what's happening on the map. So make sure to keep healthy communications to improve your game sense. This is much easier said than done though. At the end of the day, game sense can take countless hours to build, and many players, they're gonna quit before they ever join the ranks of the game sense gods. It's not to say that it's unachievable though. In fact, through our countless hours of Discord coaching, we've built up the perfect fast track for players like you to improve their game sense as quickly as possible so they can start destroying their matches today. By analyzing hundreds of players' games in low elo, we cracked the code on exactly everything you need to know to master Valorant. And then we packaged it all up into a neat little course over on our website. Now, in under an hour, we're going to teach you everything you need to know about game sense and get you carrying in no time. It's your choice though. You could spend countless hours learning it yourself, or just spend a few bucks and rank up today. Now, if that makes you uneasy though, we get it. Our entire site is backed up by a rank up guarantee. So if for some reason we can't help you improve, you're gonna get your money back. We're so committed to helping you improve, in fact, that we offer a free VOD review session in our Discord with every single site subscription. Work with real coaches with a real guarantee you'll improve. Check out SkillCapped today, and we'll see you there. On to step 4, mastering advanced tactics. Some advanced tactics include ideal positioning, obtaining map control, mastering peeking techniques, and getting a full grasp on economy management. So let's talk about positioning first here. For good positioning, you need to be isolating gunfights and making sure you have a crossfire with a teammate. So either you win your 1v1 or your teammate will swing and trade you. Next, let's talk about peeking techniques. There are 3 main peeking techniques: jiggling, wide swinging, and shoulder peeking. Jiggle peeking is used to gather information and lead into a wide swing. You can combine jiggle peeking with jumping as well to create a jump peek. Wide swings are best used to just swing an enemy with confidence if you already have the information on where they likely are. Shoulder peeking is best used to bait an enemy. Like if you're in a 1v1 and they're defusing the bomb, just shoulder peek and wait for them to shoot. Positioning and peeking properly leads us straight into taking map control. Taking map control basically is cutting an area of the map off from the enemies. Doing this will allow you to make a much more educated guess on where the enemies are going. For peeking, you can practice that in deathmatch pretty easily. Positioning and taking map control, they take a lot of real game practice and understanding though. So just practice the concepts we talked about and you'll be golden here. Understanding economy and managing it properly is important as well though. Knowing when you should buy, when to save and such, they're crucial. If your whole team is over 3,300 credits, you should really consider a full buy since this covers a rifle and light shields for everyone. If your team's under 3,300 credits, you should consider a full eco or half buy depending on how much money you have and your loss bonus. Next up is step 5, aim train regularly. Consistently aim training will lead you to consistent rank ups. The importance lies in the fact you build muscle memory, good aiming habits, and a practice routine. Some ways to aim train are on Aim Labs, Kovacs FPS Aim Trainer, or my favorite, which is just in-game, but we already talked about my warm-up routine a bit earlier. As for Kovacs and Aim Labs, there's plenty of routines made by professional Valorant and Counter-Strike players on them for you to try. Up next is step 6, learning from your mistakes. My favorite way to learn from mistakes is VOD reviewing my own games. Simply record your game any way you like. Metal or OBS Studio are the go-tos for recording though if you don't have one. Some common mistakes that you need to look out for in your games are positioning mistakes, swinging mistakes, and rotation mistakes. Questions that I like to ask myself are, what did I do for my team by swinging here? Or could I have saved my teammate from dying here? If you ever find yourself asking questions like those or similar, try to think of a way to play the round better and carry it on the next time you're in that situation. Doing this over a long period of time will really save you from a lot of easy mistakes as long as you're willing to learn from them. This is definitely one of the most underrated and underused steps for improvement, and you'll see a lot of progress if you do this. And that leads to our second to last step, step number 7. Mental resilience and a positive mindset. Mental resilience is a must-have in any competitive game. Letting anything bother your mental state in Valorant will plant the seed of negativity into you and your team, and it's best to just let it go and move on to the next round in every single one of these scenarios. But we have to ask, what if you only get upset after losing a game? Well, in Valorant, you really have to take the bad with the good. Losing a game didn't necessarily mean you underperformed, and the way I cope with losses is by understanding that I did what I could. And by doing what I could, I mean I communicated, I tried my best, and I didn't give up. A healthy lifestyle can also lead to a healthy mental endgame too. Receiving dopamine from other things in life than Valorant will really help you keep a positive mindset when you're playing. A hobby like going to the gym consistently really goes a long way here, and I know this is crazy saying this, but other things, like keeping a clean room, always making your bed, also gives your life some kind of order, and it all affects your mental well-being. So make sure you take care of yourself in and outside the game. And finally, on to step 8, consistent practice and patience. Practicing consistently and focusing on self-improvement is the best way to improve in Valorant. So following all these steps mentioned and continuing to practice them will lead you to your goal eventually. The other key to reaching your goal, though, is patience. You won't become immortal overnight, and you need to realize that. You won't have tens-like aim a month from now. But what I can guarantee you is that by practicing consistently, setting realistic goals, and being patient with yourself will get you to your end goal eventually. It's important to remember that it's just a game at the end of the day, and self-improvement is always the main goal. In today's guide, we talked about 8 steps you need to implement to reach Immortal. So let's recap our steps here really quick. Step number 1. Master the basics. Step number 2, specialize in a role and agent. Step number 3, develop game sense. Step number 4, master advanced tactics. Step number 5, aim train regularly. Step number 6, learn from your mistakes. Step number 7, keep a resilient and positive mental. And step number 8, consistent practice and patience. Knowing these 8 steps and how to practice them all will lead you to success, and I'm certain you're going to get to Immortal by following them. So get to practicing and keep us updated on your progress. We love to hear it. And be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it or feel like it helped you. Also, leave a comment letting us know if you feel like we missed anything important. As always, though, remember, if you enjoyed this video, there is an endless sea of content over at SkillCapped that will teach you everything else you need to hit Immortal in Valorant. We're going to help you master your mechanics, your positioning, your game sense, and get you climbing in no time. Our site's backed by a rank improvement guarantee too, so you know we're not messing around here. All of our students have direct access to our Radiant coaching staff in the SkillCapped Discord as well, where they can get their gameplay reviewed and quickly fix all of their issues. Most players, they have just a few things that are holding them back that are nearly impossible to see for the average player. But just one session with our coaches and they're gonna get you climbing in no time. Now, we believe it's possible for any one of you to hit Immortal. We swear it. All it takes is a bit of dedication and a small amount of guidance. So come on over to SkillCapped and join our army of ranked players that are ranking up every single day, and we'll see you there.